much are you able to have a life when the production's going on, those 9 seasons?
Oh yeah, no. It was. I mean, I always say that I felt like I was in a bubble because I was in probably at least 95% of every scene of every show. I was in. There were very rarely where I was not in 2 scenes in an episode. So I was constantly on the floor acting, but then when I wasn't, I was in the writer's room. You know, as soon as I was done acting, I would run to the writer's room and sit with the guys. And then editing wasn't as difficult as some, but it was part of it. So it was all consuming. And when it ended, it felt like this submarine came up and I came out and I was like, I live in California now? Wait a minute, my kids are 12? She still won't have sex with me? What's going on? But in the beginning, it was kind of fun to have the time and all that. And then after a couple months, it wasn't that much fun.
It wasn't?
No, and I kind of crashed. About 3 months, you know, I was seeing a therapist. You know, but my whole life I've been seeing a therapist. And when the show was ending, when it was about to end, he said, "You want to start coming twice a week?" And I said, "No, I've run out of things to say now, you know." But within 3 months, I was seeing him twice a week because it's not easy. Yeah.
What wasn't easy about it?
Just, you know, you throw everything in for 9 years, and all of a sudden, there's this lull and this, you know, the show became part of who I was, and then all of a sudden, you gotta figure out who you are again, you know. And I always, you know, the one thing I thank God is, you know, my family is the most important. My kids are the most important thing to me. But I will admit, I am also, you know, what makes me happy is creating and doing and doing something and performing in some sense. And one thing I can always do, stand up. You know, an actor, I sometimes think the actors really have it hard who maybe reach an age where they're not getting work or something ends, and you know they're looking for that next thing. I always have that creative outlet of stand-up, but it took a while to get my feet again after the show ended. You know.
So you and executive producer Phil Rosenthal decide. Yes. To end the show after 9 seasons, 210 episodes, 12 Emmys. And you had the financial incentive to continue. I mean, you're making almost $2 million an episode on top of whatever you'd get. You know, on top of whatever you'd get, you know, on the back end in syndication. So, I mean, how difficult was that decision for you in terms of when to end the show?
Well, it was difficult for some of those reasons. It wasn't difficult creatively, because to be totally honest, Phil and I wanted to end it in the 8th season.
Oh, you did?
Yes, after the 8th season. I mean, to be honest, you know, we had thought at that time the last thing we want to do is overstay and feel like we're on a decline, and then we pull out. You know, you don't want to be the guy who keeps playing baseball and because he can hit 6 homers a year instead of 35. And we felt we were still at our peak that way, but we could see that we were running out of ideas, that sometimes we were repeating, we were stealing from ourselves a little bit. And for Phil and I, and again, it's easy for us. Phil has a big percentage of the show. I had a smaller percentage, but you know, we financially wasn't a motivator. We weren't motivated for financial reasons. It was all about, this was our thing. This was our baby, and you know, this was our sitcom TV legacy, and we want to protect it and go out, you know, with dignity. And you know, again, but you also have to take into account the other actors, and they're reaching a point where they're making substantial money, and they have families and this and that, and you want to be fair, but not at the expense of the show. So we thought, and Phil came up with this. He goes, let's see how many new, fresh ideas we can get for season 9. Let's sit with the writers, and if we can come up with 8, ideas that we're proud of, that we know are new, then we can probably do 16. If we come up with 8, we'll come up with 16. So that's what we did. We came up with 8 that we thought, were just as good as any of them, and so we told the network we'll do 16. We only did 16 into season 9, but I don't think Phil and I regret 1 second leaving at that point. Yeah.
For more clips from this interview, visit GrahamBensinger.com.